Hey, welcome to video 2 of the Foundational Marketing course. I'm Chuck, and today we're talking about Google Maps, or what Google likes to call Google My Business. Now that's their brand name for the business side of the Google Maps. And it's the same Google Maps that you have on your phone that you use to find the nearest Starbucks when you're traveling. So first of all, I want to talk about why Google Maps? Why should we pay attention to this? Why does it even matter? Why are millions of other business owners doing this? Well, probably the number one thing is that it's free. It's absolutely free, and it's likely to stay that way. And that's kind of an uncommon thing, so I think it's important for me to explain why that is. Why is this free? So Google Maps is obviously made by Google, and so what is Google's main business? Search. Internet search is Google's main thing, and they make money through this by advertising. They make billions of dollars from advertising. It's actually pretty disgusting how much money they make just from people searching and clicking on ads. And I can't remember the exact number, but on a daily basis, like, the average person is exposed to thousands of ads. It's really crazy. But the reason why Google Maps is free is because Google wants people using its services, because the more time you spend using their service, the more likely you're going to see an ad that you are interested in and click on it. And so the more ways that Google can keep you engaged with their stuff, the more money they're going to make. And that's why you have things like Google Images, Google Maps, Gmail. There's like a bazillion of them. Google Earth, YouTube, that's a huge one. There's just all sorts of things. And when you run a Google search, you'll see an image box. You'll see frequently asked questions. You'll see featured snippets. You'll see all sorts of stuff. And all of these things are attempts by Google to get you to stay on their platform. If you can find what you're looking for on Google stuff, then you don't need to leave. That's their plan. And that's why Google Maps is likely to stay free. And that's really important because you're going to be putting a lot of time and effort, maybe even money, into this Google Maps listing. And you don't want to risk investing in something that could just poof, go away at a moment's notice. And that's what happens with things like Home Advisor. You know, I've talked to, hundreds of people at this point that spent years using Home Advisor. They spent tens of thousands, some of them hundreds of thousands of dollars buying leads from Home Advisor and asking all of their happy customers to leave reviews on their Home Advisor page. And then eventually Home Advisor just wasn't profitable for them anymore, and so they had to cancel. And when they canceled, that page just went away. And they're like, they don't know what to do. It's a real shame to have all those reviews go away, because you can't just go ask all of your customers to leave a review again, and you can't move those things over. So that's why I recommend getting all of your reviews on Google Maps first. So it's okay to have them on Home Advisor, on Facebook, and these other places, but Google Maps is, first of all, the place that's going to be found the most by people searching in your area. And it's not likely to go away if you stop paying, because you don't have to pay for it in the first place. So number one benefit of Google Maps, it's free. We like free stuff, am I right? Another benefit of it is it can bring in phone calls immediately. I have a friend he's a carpenter, so he runs a little construction company. He went out on his own, and he couldn't afford to have us build him a website, and he didn't really have the technical know-how to do it himself. And so all he did was start this Google Maps listing. And you know what? He started getting phone calls in the first week, and he still gets multiple phone calls every single week. And he's just as busy as he could possibly be as a one-man show, just from having his Google listing, getting a few reviews, and getting some pictures on there. So it really is that powerful, especially if you're in an area that has a lot of things going on. If there's a lot of construction going on in your neighborhood and you get your construction company on Google Maps, you're going to be getting phone calls. Number 3 benefit of Google Maps is that blood-sucking corporations cannot compete with you there. So what am I talking about here? Let me show you exactly what I'm talking about. So if I search for a plumber in my area, plumber in Spokane, right off the bat, the page is going to be filled up with these corporations. So we've got Yelp here, we've got Home Advisor, we've got Angie's List, expertise.com. Let's just experiment for a minute. Let's do remodeler in Spokane, see what pops up. Home Advisor right there. So Home Advisor, they're paying to have their ads right here. So they're clouding up the top of the page. Angie's List is here. Home Advisor's here again. Yelp is there twice in a row. Better Business Bureau. These are giant corporations that are doing everything they can. They're spending millions of dollars to get in between you and your customer. They want to wedge themselves in between you and then pay you or charge you a fee to connect. It's absolutely bogus. Most of the time, these companies add zero value to the equation, and it really pisses me off because I wrote a couple articles, research journalism articles about these companies where I just went around the internet, read reviews about what people were saying, and posted them. And now I get multiple calls every single week from people that paid Home Advisor thousands of dollars to get leads, ended up getting no jobs from it, dealt with people that were super rude at Home Advisor when they were trying to get refunds, just ended up having a nightmare experience, spending thousands of dollars. Some of them went out of business because of companies like Home Advisor. And so back to the point, Home Advisor cannot compete with you on Google Maps. Google Maps is only for businesses that are in this location. So this little pocket right here, this little screen, this little Google Maps box is the one place on this search page that cannot be filled up with these giant blood-sucking corporations. So that's a huge bonus. So it's free to you and it's impossible for them to be there. So that's super important. It's hard to compete when you are, doing your own marketing or when you have a modest marketing budget. It's hard to compete with these companies that are spending millions of dollars to be found on the search engine. So love that about Google Maps. Let's see, the 4th thing, it's easy to use. They have an app. You can download the app. You can do everything from there. You can upload pictures. You can ask for reviews. You can change any information you want. You can get alerts when people are looking at your pictures, when people, you can receive messages. There's just so many things you can do just from your smartphone. In fact, my friend who I was telling you about earlier, who only has the Google listing, he did 100% of it from his smartphone, and it's bringing in consistent work. So this little Google Maps listing paired with this app on his phone is helping him make a living. It's really amazing. The 5th benefit of using Google Maps is it's really easy to get reviews. They provide a special little link that you can share through a text message or an email that when someone clicks on it, it will take them directly to the spot where you can leave a review. And so it makes it as easy as it possibly can be for people to leave you a review, which is important. Getting reviews from people can sometimes be like pulling teeth, and I will give you some pointers later on in this course about how to ask for reviews and how to get them. But anything that makes it easier to ask people for reviews and easier for them to leave them is huge in this business. The last benefit is that almost everybody uses Google. I forget what the number is now, but it keeps going up. But it's over 90%. It's like 95% of people that are searching for a local service or a local product are using Google to find it. And a lot of the other search engines, they just secretly use Google and they show you Google search results. So understanding and mastering the game of getting your business found on Google gives you a huge edge on your competition, and Google Maps is right there at the core of that. So to quickly breeze over those benefits one more time, it's free. It brings in phone calls immediately. Blood-sucking corporations cannot compete with you there. It's easy to use. They have a phone app. It's easy to get reviews, and almost everybody will be searching on Google, so you will be able to show to almost everybody that searches online. So if I haven't convinced you that Google Maps is awesome yet, then just shut off this video because you won't be interested in the rest. So how do you get your Google Maps listing in the first place? So the thing I would do first is actually go to Google and just type in the name of your company. So my family's remodeling company is called Kyle Construction, or NL Kyle Construction. So I would go here and I would say, oh, okay, it's telling me that I manage this business. Thank you, Google, I know that. But if I didn't manage this business, I could click on this, and let's just do it really fast. Let's see, Kyle Construction. And I'm in incognito mode now, so it doesn't know who I am. So I open up this listing, and right here it says own this business. So I can click on this and put in my information, sign into my Google account and go through the process of getting that thing filled out. That's one way to claim it. If it already exists and it hasn't been claimed, then that process is really simple. You'll put in your info, your address and whatnot, and they'll send you a postcard that looks like this. It'll have a code on it, and you put that code in, and that will verify that you are the owner. Now, there's another situation. Maybe there is a business listing, but you don't have control over it, and maybe like a past employee started it and you can't get a hold of them. Whatever that may be, it's the same exact process. You'll click on the own this business link, and it'll show you their part of their email address. And if you know it, then you can type it in, and it'll send them an email and ask them if you should be allowed to own or manage this listing. And so if you're on good terms and they get the email, they click yes, you'll own it, you'll be able to control it, you'll be good to go. The third situation is that the listing doesn't exist yet. And so if that is the case, then you will go to the same place, googlemybusiness.com, or actually it's google.com/business, but you can just type Google My Business into Google. Man, that was a tongue twister. And you'll be able to create a listing there. So when you go through that process of creating the listing, it's the same thing. They'll send you this postcard in the mail, and you'll be able to verify it from there. So we've gone over the benefits of the Google listing itself. We've talked about how to get one started. Let's breeze over how this thing works, technically. So Google Maps was developed for these things. It was developed for smartphones, to be able to show people a map of their area, to help people navigate, and to show them the things they're looking for in their local area. And so the term for this is that it works off of proximity. So if somebody searches for your business while they're standing out front of your business on the street, you're going to show up in that Google Maps box. And so, I could just give you a demonstration. Kyle Construction. One reason that this shows up number one for me is because I'm literally on the location right now. But if somebody's across town, then that's not going to help me. So where else can Google get this information? So it doesn't just work off of proximity. It's still like the normal search that we're all used to, and that's based off of relevance and authority. So the relevance part is, if you're searching for a chain link fence builder, Google's going to do its best to show you somebody as close as possible to you that is also known to build chain link fences. And how does Google know that? By looking at its Google Maps, the business's Google Maps listing, and then looking at their website. And if their Google Maps listing mentions chain link fences and their website has a page about chain link fences, then Google is going to want to show that. Now, if there's two businesses that have similar websites, they both mention chain link fences and they're very similar, then Google's going to look at the authority. So which website has been around longer? Which website has more other websites linking to it? And those kinds of things. So at the heart of it, understanding how Google search works will give you a huge edge when it comes time to apply all this digital marketing stuff. And try to think of it from Google's perspective. Google's a robot, okay? Google, it's a computer, it's an algorithm, it's a bunch of code that somebody typed up to allow this computer to know to like crawl around the internet and make a catalog of everything that's there and be able to quickly pull up whatever somebody's looking for. And the thing that Google understands the best is text. So if you have a website and it doesn't say anything about chain link fences on it at all, then most likely you're not going to show up on Google for people searching for chain link fences. Why would you? Google has no idea that that is something that you do because you haven't told Google that with the text on your website. So you can kind of see what I'm getting at. Your website needs to have enough text that accurately describes all of the things that people are going to be searching for on Google in order for you to show up. And that's one part of it. Google robots, I like saying that. Google robots are getting better at analyzing images and understanding what's on images. They're even figuring out how to analyze videos and understanding what's on those, and audio too. But it's text, it's words that it understands the best, like really, really well, like almost creepy how good Google is at understanding text and language. So in order for you to make sure that your website and your Google listing shows up all over your city, your website needs to have a lot of accurate, clear and concise text content on it that will let Google know exactly what you do, where you do it, and who you do it for. And it doesn't happen as much these days, but if you've been searching on Google for a while, you might remember like 10, 15 years ago, finding a lot of websites that were just like a wall of text. And that's people going overboard, trying to just put in as many keywords as they can and just spamming Google. And that used to work, but you have to remember, you're building your website for Google first so that it will show you to people, but then you're building it for the actual people. And so Google's not just looking at what's on your website, but it's looking at how people engage with your website. So if somebody searches on Google and they scroll down and they click on your website, if they spend 5 seconds there and then click the back button and keep looking, that's a signal to Google that that person did not find what they were looking for. And so Google's going to be less likely to show you for that search in the future. And the opposite is true as well. If somebody searches through, clicks on a few websites and clicks back and eventually lands on your website, spends a few minutes there and then X's out of that tab, that's a signal to Google that that person found what they were looking for on your website, and that they should show you for that keyword search in the future. And so without going into a complete rant, there's a lot of things that you can do to make sure that your Google listing shows up all over your city, not just out front of your location. And it has to do with your website. And I will be going more in depth about these things in other videos in this mini course. So to wrap everything up, this is video 2. It's all about a high-level view of Google Maps. What it is, why you should care about it, and some of the nuts and bolts about how it works. So we talked about the benefits. You know, Google Maps is free. It's free of those blood-sucking corporations, and it's a really holistic tool to use to advertise your company for free. Free. Can't emphasize that enough. It's easy to use. It's easy to set up. You can get your listing going in anywhere from 1 to 14 days, just depending on how long it takes for you to get this postcard in the mail. Sometimes you don't have to do the postcard thing. It just kind of depends. I do want to warn you, be careful when you go to set this up. If you already have a listing, you want to get control of that one. It's a lot better to have an old one than a new one, and that goes back to authority. A listing or a website that has been around for a long time is going to have more authority in Google's eyes than one that just popped up today. And besides that, it's a real pain in the butt when you have duplicate listings, and you might put a bunch of work into one and then have it get suspended for being a duplicate. So be careful. If you aren't sure what you're doing, reach out to us. We help people do this stuff all the time. There's also tons of resources on the internet that can help you do this. So learn how to use Google, type in your questions, and you'll get all the help you need. And just try not to make a duplicate listing. In the next video, I'm going to be going into detail of this Google Maps listing through each section of the dashboard. I'm going to explain to you what each section means, what the purpose is, and what kind of information you should put in there. So tune in for that one, and I'll see you there.